Welcome to episode 47 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. I see you subscribing on all the different platforms. I appreciate that. Spotify is now available in Trinidad. It used to be more foreign play, but now Spotify is available here. And I'm seeing people in Trinidad listening on Spotify already, so that's a good sign, and I appreciate all of it, especially YouTube, where that audience slowly but surely growing. I appreciate that. So this is the first week. This 47, that's 47 weeks of episode so far. And this is the first week I feel we really nearly had no episode because I am suffering from flu-like symptoms. And sorry for everybody who was listening to last week where the audio was a little messy in the beginning and then I figured it out late. And by the time I finished recording and I listened back to it, I realized, boy, listen, I can't go and say over what I say in the 6 minutes there. I couldn't remember what I say. And I said, boy, let fly. So thanks for all the feedback and stuff, but I'm hoping this week is better. I'll check it and make sure that we audio good, but we still have an audio problem because I am as nasal as it gets. So I'm going to try to doctor up my voice as much as possible so it's sounding normal, but it's rough times. So I am en route. I think I'm going to get a little COVID test. I don't know what is happening, but I'm feeling like Zachary came home the other day. He was a little, what it is? Flu-like. Not even runny nose and thing. He was just feeling like he was getting the flu. Like, you know, and if you're now starting to feel like you're getting sick. So we watching him. I tell Stacey, boy, quarantine him one time, put him in a room by himself. But she said I'm trying to get quarantine. He still had to see about them, apparently. Who knew? And then, there's always the case with me, right? Now, if you have a boy child, you might know this. And I don't know, maybe my experience is different from everybody else. But my son knows on me. He is the mother child. He only looking for the mother. When he wake up in the morning and he come looking and he realizes me in the bedroom, he just closed back the door. He gone. He looking for his mother. I grew up the same way too with my mother. And for some strange reason, although he not on me, he don't be around me, he ain't trying to hear from me. When he gets sick, Stacey don't ever get sick. She's be cool. And I just get sick every single time. And the thing about him is, he was sniffled twice. And in a day or so, he over it in a day or two. So I wasn't worried about going and get him tested. I say, well, if it get any worse or he getting fever or anything, we will carry him and let him get tested. But boy, as sure as his sun will rise, as soon as he get over it in a day or two, I start to feel a little sore throat in this, and a little sinus problems. And the sinus, I thought was the Sahara dust and all this smoke, because I don't know if they say it's no ash from La Soufre here. Press to everybody in St. Vincent and Barbados who's suffering from that a lot. They say we had a small chance of getting ash from La Soufre here, and nobody ever confirmed whether we get it or not. But the Sahara, like, is seeing the mistiness or the haziness in the air, and everybody who know about everybody who has sinus issues or allergies, I start feeling that. And there's a thing in my nose and in my eyes starting to feel a little way. And anyway, slowly but surely I realize it's flu. So I think I put on a whole lot of weight on Monday alone because my home COVID test, I have a home COVID test. I don't know if all you know about this. But I just taste real thing. I just keep on eating to make sure, because everybody I know who get COVID tell me after the first thing happened is you're losing your taste. So I really eating, I tasting. And I still tasting so far, so far so good. And it's looking like if it's the same thing Zachary had to. But just in case, maybe I should go and do the responsible thing and get tested just in case. But, and you know, the thing is, like, I ain't get no vaccine. I'm watching so much people talking about how they feeling after getting the vaccine. Me ain't get no vaccine. I ain't think I get no COVID and I sick. So I have it to do. But I get a message from, let me leave people unnamed, eh? I get a message from a partner of mine and a avid podcast listener coming off. I get plenty of messages, as a matter of fact, from people who listen. And my own little fears where the podcast, where the, yes, Zachary?
Do I really, when I see you just close the door?
Yeah, but why are you listening? Nobody was talking to you.
You're literally talking to everybody.
Except you. This is not a feedback kind of session. This is just me talking. Yes,
I just come in and hug you.
When? Bye.
Before I close the door.
Right,
all the
bye.
time.
Bye. Yeah, so anyway, I have my own little fears about... close the door properly, please. I have my own little fears about the vaccine, as I had said in the last podcast. So people was calling me and telling me, listen, don't be worried about it. One man called and tell me, listen, I had COVID before. As soon as the vaccine available to me, I go and take it. And that is not a joke. And anything that could prevent you or help you get it that not as bad, you should rush to get it. Don't be hesitant at all. Our next partner call and tell me how much. The man say, a man like you frightened to take vaccine. He said when he was a young fellow looking for a woman, he used to go in pharmacy and buy all kind of tablet and ginseng thing and all kind of long performer. Chinese medicine, not approved by nobody. And I say, all right, okay, you have a point there. I've invested in my fair share of these nondescript kind of drugs. So, all right, cool. But one guy told me, he said, boy, he get vaccinated and he cool, he smooth. So I said, all right, well, hey, maybe I really had to change up the way I'm looking at this because my fear really unfounded. And I understand that my fear unfounded too, to be honest. But that would have been late. I want to say Friday night, boy. One night, that man messaged me and tell me that I think it's Friday night. And Saturday morning, by the time I wake up, I see a fresh new message. He's like, boy, boy. Like the symptoms now kicking in. The fever, the full... As with many other people, I saw Joel Julian, plenty of people I know get vaccinated and said that they had little symptoms, they was feeling a little bad and that kind of thing. But I'm sure it's nothing compared to what it would be like if you get COVID, especially if you get a bad case like so many people had. But it makes me start to wonder, like, because you see the people who messaging me to tell me they get vaccinated and the people I seen on Facebook who getting vaccinated, and you know, the thing about the vaccine is a new fashionable thing now for the week. And don't listen, you know how people like to say Trinidadians, this and that? This is something that happened everywhere in the world. Eh? Everywhere where vaccines was available, people rushed to Instagram, vaccinated, big vax and vax hole. And listen, everybody was on the gram. It's not only a Trinidadian thing, but sure enough, when it started to hit the younger age, and I call myself younger, we were in the 40s. Like we claim youth one time now. But everybody on the thing about the vaccine and the thing, and everybody sleeve up and the bandage and everybody sweet. All right, cool, everybody getting vaccinated. But it leaves me to wonder now, how old are my colleagues? Because the last thing I hear and see and read is that people who getting vaccinated were primary healthcare people, or it's not first responders, what they call them, boy, people anybody who in the medical field. And the elderly. So I see some people that say, all right, well, you know elderly, you ain't no medical field, but you're well vaccinated and you're on the gram and everything. I say, okay, all right, cool. But little by little over the weekend, you're seeing more and more of that. And man telling you outright which part to go. Man say, boy, here, head so and so. Them fellas vaccinating people on that side. You know what I mean? Whoever come, first served. So I started looking into it a little more because my first thing was like, hey, all you taking the old people's stuffs? What's going on? But after looking into it a little more, what I realized happening at a lot of these centers, the feedback I getting is that a lot of people not showing up. So while in the first couple of days it was a whole lot of people and they were going through vaccines very, very fast, apparently they went through 2 or 3 days where they were well under capacity. So let's say they're going to take 100 people for the day, only 50 people show up who within the group. So slowly but surely they started opening the essential. They started opening the most risk people, from not just the elderly and healthcare workers, but then they said media workers. I would assume politicians who continue to do their job whole day. So I understand counselors and people who work in the corporation and those things still going out. And it kind of makes sense to open it up because remember one of the first things we said here when the vaccine was coming was that the expiry date coming sharpish. So what's the use when it's so difficult to get vaccines? When you have people like me, let me put myself in that bracket. You have people like me who frightened to go and take it, who hesitant and those types of things. And I ain't showing up. I'm making it 50 out of 100 people showing up. And then they're wasting both time and resources. So I say, listen, let the people who are really not worried about getting vaccinated, of course, let the first priority still be the elderly and the ones they identified as being highest risk. So maybe continue to do that as a morning session and then after lunch say, listen, first come, first serve from there because there are plenty younger people who are willing to go and take the boost or take their shot and not worry about it. And I can't vex with nobody who frightened like me and decide not to take the shot. I frightened, but I'm going to take the shot, right? I either do it scared kind of guy. No matter how frightened I is about thing, if I feel it's the right thing to do, I'm going to do it. But if people frightened and staying home, let people who ain't frightened go through. And let's get this thing vaccinated one time. So my guy who tell me he get his shot every Saturday morning, I didn't see him post a whole lot on Instagram about vax and hashtag big vax and all these things, but he's a man on a Saturday morning and Sunday morning. He's one of the men going to annoy you. When I wake up late and then he's about 10 doubles, he quite up Chancellor and in the pines and exercising hard and training and them kind of things. So he will be sick for a minute with the vaccine and he will be good. And now I have to worry, my obese self. I better do some pines and things too before I go, because here the men I call in who is a fit man. Man like Joel Julian, fit. This next man, fit. Them fellas and them running miles every day, uphill. So maybe I should just get myself in a little regime. So when my time come me I go in before my time, I can tell you that for free. But when my time come around, when they reach my age group or my level of obesity, I want to get down the BMI scale a little bit and lose a little inches and that kind of thing. Belly inches, right? And see if I could go and get my shot and not feel like how I'm feeling now. If I'm feeling like this now, I get a shot. Better take the shot one time. I don't feel in that kind of way already. This might be a good time. But anyway, good news is that the vaccination thing happening. A lot of people getting vaccinated. I had real doubts about the vaccination program and the timelines and the expiry date and all that. But to be fair, they put in that to rest quickly. And from my own estimate, I had said that we would have had to go real hard, about 1,000 a day to meet the expiry date for the first batch. But at the rate we're going now, from my last count, we're well ahead of 1,000 a day. Using the numbers from Monday, the total persons vaccinated is 34,353. How much vaccine we get? Not 35,000. That's almost all the vaccine on. So I suppose the new batch of vaccines coming in. I understand that the first batch was from South Korea. This batch gonna be from India. And from everybody I spoke to who got it already, they don't have a date yet that is fixed for the second shot. I thought they would have fixed a date one time, like say this, just count the 6 to 8 weeks until they come back that day. But they're saying that they will be contacted when they're ready to come back in for that second shot. So congrats to everybody who get a shot. I hope everybody recover from the little side effects and those things and look forward to getting a second shot. And by the time you get a second shot, Johnson & Johnson will be here. I'll get my one shot and bust out. But as we talk in recovery too, salute. I just read about 4 hours ago that Dr. Rowley has gotten his first negative test. I think you need 2 negative tests. Well, from back in the day, from Ian Allen days, right, of COVID, he needed to get 2 negative tests consecutively before you leave Cora or before you leave up in Matura. It was where it was they had the thing, the quarantine center up somewhere up on that side. So I'm not sure if this means that he back out and about now, or if he still need 2 negative tests. But glad to see him get a negative test. I was worried for a second. I said, but this man had COVID. We ain't hear no kind of updates. We don't know what's going on with him and thing. And it's good news, the man get his negative test. Hopefully tomorrow he have a next negative test and he back on the road, steering the ship and them kind of thing. I said, again, he can't get vaccinated until the next 6 months or so. So I hope, everything goes smooth and he back out to his normal, vibrant, fit self, playing golf and so on. And funny enough, as I recorded this, I seen coming up on Dr. Rowley Instagram page, a letter that he sent to the new US president. What's his number? 46? Biden? Really asking him he's saying that the US has decided to make a sharing program, I guess, what they call it the COVAX program, I guess. And share their what he referred to as excess capacity that has been stockpiled of the AstraZeneca vaccine with Canada and Mexico, the neighbors. But with those 2 bordering countries, Rowley kind of said the Caribbean has been referred to many times by previous presidents as the third border of America. And he basically asking, listen, it's a long letter to say, oh, they give you some vaccines now, as you see, now you're keeping up all the vaccine between yourself and Mexico and Canada, Lego some vaccines down here. And Biden take a real long diplomatic time, just like Rowley, to say, hey, what is he saying? 500 and some thousand are we dead over here, so we're going to share some vaccines when that time comes, but in the meantime, no, you're nothing. So I guess we're still on the same trail of our ordering process, and I commend him for writing the letter. I think we should write to every single, I want to call them first world countries, or the bigger countries, or the pharmaceutical companies themselves, and beg for whatever we have to beg for. Like I was saying the other day, like, what's wrong with begging? What's wrong with asking a question or looking for help? So let us continue to do that and see somebody might say yes eventually. And if Biden say no, write him a next letter next week again and say, I understand. He say no, how we looking this week? You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to be a little pushy, you know. And let's see how much people we could get vaccinated. Because I see somebody post this week, we are carnival in mind. But they have a post that I really had to read here under all the thing and all the seriousness of this vaccine. I see a post this week by my boy Damian Goofy Evans, radio personality on 96.1, right? And I had to read this man post. If you know him, he's one of the funniest guys around. And this man basically start by saying, anybody doing an anthropology and need an idea for a dissertation, he has one. So I quote him. On Friday last, I went to the hunt for the 5G vaccine. Yeah, remember 5G last year when all they thought radio waves was causing COVID? Well, I haven't forgotten you all, I have the screenshots. Anyhow, I took it upon myself to go to Mova Health Center. Having worked in Mova Industrial Estate for some years and running away to go to Dr. Hyde's birthday bash at 13, I knew exactly where it was. Upon reach, now Damian's an uptown man, eh? So that's why he had to put in this little paragraph about Mova Health Center and saying he know Mova man. But he know the ins and outs. He's a man been around, but he uptown. He said, upon reaching there, I was met with what can only be described as Hearts Band Lounge. European cars and people of a lighter hue, in brackets 1%. As far as the eye can see, I was flabbergasted, mouth agape. My co-worker said, Damien, where we is? Not Mova? Now, mind you, some of these people actually pay for personal security to traverse the streets of Port of Spain on a carnival Monday and Tuesday. Yet here they are parking on Lady Young Avenue and walking down to the health center without a care in the world. It was a sight to behold, and I took lots of pictures. So the names he's come up with, the erasing of fear, COVID made me do it, crime be damned, memoirs of COVID adventures. I took a chook and I took in the view of health centers and men. So listen, the thing real. It's are people like me who quote unquote playing the fool and frightened to take vaccine. But if the uptowners see vaccine gain away for free in Mova, why not head up to Mova? Mova is part of the country too, you know what I mean? Why 1%ers mustn't go Mova and get vaccinated? If you're going in your area and it isn't working out for you. But all I'm saying is pass through Mova every now and again too. Now do some little works, you know what I mean? Help some youth. It has some grounds need repairing. It has some community work that needs to get done. Don't just go in because they have a vaccine and say, I may affect nobody wherever they go to get the vaccine. This is like, it's like just saying about the rollers writing Biden. Write whoever you had to write. Get however you could get. Well, not chaotic and everything. Eh? If we orderly and we go in different places and we join the line and it could work out, join the line and let it work out. Yes, let people get vaccinated. But also, if you're according to Goofy, if there's a 1% and you pass through Mova and you get through and think, don't forget that there's a place named Mova. And then don't go back to where you come from and then make statements like, well, that's the buffer between us. And no, we don't do that now. Be helpful too, you know what I mean? You get through there. Don't forget the place. I'm glad you went up and you enjoyed the view. It's a nice place, you know what I mean? Pass through more often. Park your fancy cars and think, give youth some hope. See who need jobs in these hard times. You know what I mean? If you're 1%er, lend a hand. And between the US and Mova, as we talk about them two things, you all see this week, the US do a travel advisory, basically saying that, listen, when you come to Trinidad, watch yourself. It's dangerous in these streets. It could get dark very fast. We're doing this. We're talking to people who are working in the embassy. And when you come here and you're on assignment or you're working here or you're posted here, be careful in these streets. Trinidad could get dark. And listen, you see me personally, I never like them travel advisory. I find it is another way, like how Biden gracefully say 500 and some thousand are we dead, we can't say nothing for you right now. It's just another way that bigger countries and more developed countries discriminate against us and make us feel small. And yes, you have to protect your citizens and send advisories. I understand that. England is doing the same thing all the time. You're advising people about where to go. I find we should just, even if we just mama guy and myself, when you see all the police shooting people and killing people in the streets, our embassy in the States, in Miami, wherever it is, or in London, should come up and say something. Hey, be careful. They're killing we out in these streets. Be careful how you're traveling to these things. Because Trinidad ain't the only crime. It's not the only country in the world that's struggling with a crime issue. In addition to that, here why be real bothered by it, especially when it's coming out of England. A big part of the crime situation in these islands we facing now have to do with the history of these islands and how we come here in the first place. So you see, when only getting travel advisory and things like only talking down to somebody, I can't stand it, to be honest. But I understand why I always do it. But I ain't gonna stop me from cussing it every time I see one. And I find we should start to put out some advisory too. When you see all they have issues in the tube and all they have issues too in them countries, as developed as all is, and all the money all they take from everywhere in the world and claim that it belongs to all you. And all they still have issues governing and running all the country. But you want to come and talk to me like if we, all right, okay, I understand what that is. But apparently, the United National Congress feel the same way I feel. I don't know how they feel. Because it's one of the strangest things I have ever seen. I don't understand politicians again. Politicians is a funny group of people, boy. The role of the I was telling somebody last week, right? One of the dynamics that happened under the layer of COVID, right? That is as real as it gets and something that had to be addressed, right? But a part of it is this. There has never been any government in the history of Trinidad, or at least as far as I could remember, who could get frontline press every single day of the week for a year while they're governing the country. Never. I've never seen anything like this before. And is there a good reason to have a press conference every single day regarding COVID and the numbers and everything? I would say yes. Because I was one of the people who, when they first started doing it, it lent some sense of comfort to me as an individual and my family. When I see, okay, we have leaders who are addressing it overall. Do politicians need to be in that address, or members of the sitting government need to be in that address every day? I would say no. In other words, to have a daily address where your Minister of Health, your Minister of National Security, your Prime Minister, who else is be there? At one point, the Minister of Education, Garcia, when he was still a thing, was there every day. A part of the thing is this, right? And I'm not necessarily knocking them for doing it, but hear me out. I could see that as being a campaign that the government running every single day. It's as effective as any other campaign during an election time. Because the amount of face time you get in as a minister every single day, you're gonna have ups and downs, you're gonna do good and bad, and you're gonna have to recover and all that. But in the media, the people used to say all press is good press. You're in the media every single day. You are the center of attention for about a half hour every day for a year. And counting, we pass a year now. So I'm realizing that the UNC, the opposition, I feel like they're getting a pressure because of this. Like they're getting a horrors that the people on TV every single day, and they have a running ongoing campaign underlying the COVID, right? Which is the main objective of them being there. And the reason I'm saying this is because the UNC has now decided that every single day they having, whether it's Douglas politics, a press conference, the leader of the opposition talking, Dr. Munilal and the press, they decide that they're going to respond every day. Now, as a marketing guy myself, I can't knock that tactic. If my competitor in the news every day, I want to be in the news every single day too. But I realize like they're running out of things to talk about because the objective is just to oppose. I used to say that Pandey perfect that, Pandey perfect how no matter what you come with, we opposing that. So they may want to hear what you have to say, them then oppose already. But boy, I don't know what it is with the UNC and the US government. Because that mirror in the US government led them to come out openly and say that bleach and punching and so on go work. Remember Dr. Gopi Singh? And sun will kill COVID many, many, many times. Although the same people who COVID, I guess if there are enough sun these days, so the same people need a vaccine too. But they're trying to stay on the campaign trail themselves. But this infatuation they have with the US, they come out and respond to the... Imagine the opposition of a country coming out and responding to a US travel advisory to say, look, the US telling them don't go in all them PNM strong. Imagine the US telling people don't go in MOVA while man going up in MOVA to get a booster shot, the 1%. What is happening? This could not be real. This is more than just coincidence. This had to be a fairy tale we tell it. The men say it's PNM areas that the US advise, and you know, they respond to it in such detail. The US now had to respond to this. The embassy down here had to send a next statement to say, Papa, don't politicize we thing, you know. We was just basically saying, like we always do, we do 100 and something of these for countries all the time. And we usually only highlight areas in Port of Spain and environs because that is where our staff is be frequenting or staying when they come here. So take your time, don't politicize we think. And no matter how much they say, the UNC holding what they say, because today, you know, we have the same issue I always talking about. We have a base of people who no matter what the UNC say, they're right. And no matter what the PNM say, they're right to their own sector of people. It's the greatest thing you ever see. But I find, like, when you say things like this, I hear it differently. You know, I think political parties in this country need to pay a little more attention to how they're coming across to the undecided voter. I don't always only care about the undecided man when it's election time, but be careful of the statements only making. I can't knock only for staying in the media every day, you know. But when you make statements like that, what I, as a man on the fence, saying or hearing is that you talking about MOVA and these areas, Laventille and thing, areas where I know one was a wrong and grew up a wrong. You talking about these areas like it's not part of Trinidad, like it's not important to you then. So in other words, that's a PNM area. You know what I mean? Or be careful of saying these things, you know, when you're talking about this area is a PNM stronghold and a UNC stronghold. Them things don't make sense to me. It's a one Trinidad and Tobago who, if I was to vote for you, you would be responsible for the whole place. The whole place. So I'm saying it like this. If I take my vote and I give it to UNC, let me say my vote is the decider. I put you in power. My expectation is that there are no more PNM area and UNC area. Because if you're thinking like that, I had to wonder now how much emphasis you put on a place. If you see it as a PNM area, you how much would you try to help develop that? How much will the PNM do in a place like Pinal Debe? If they just assume that that's a UNC area, them don't care about we, they will never vote for us. So what are we doing? We helping them or not? I don't like that notion. I don't like that mentality at all. And all it done, the UNC's done have a vex already, you know, because them just decide they don't go for the 2 seats in Tobago. I don't know if that don't bother nobody else, but that's real bother me. You want to be a national party to govern the whole country. But you just decide, man, forget Tobago. Them ain't voting for we, so forget them. We're not running for Tobago. And instead, you throw your support behind whoever you feel what's in the UK. I mean, whoever you feel could win in Tobago versus the PNM. It's kind of odd. I know how rich quite you know, but I just find that response to that letter was real disingenuous. I mean, come on, son. What is anything or you're singing? I know how you're singing to your bass, and your bass love that. I read the Instagram. I enjoy watching the Facebook comments on UNC pages that support the UNC along with the UNC page, and pages that support the PNM along with the PNM page. It's great to see how no matter what these parties do, it have people behind this cheering them on and supporting no matter what they say. It come like they put in the comments before they even read the post. It's the greatest thing. But I'm glad I hear, because I go, let me be the voice of balance. If I could be so fast to put myself there, let me be the man who going down the middle, so I could continue to bad talk either one of them and give either one of them recognition when they do something good. But that response to that embassy letter was a big fail. It was a big grab at straws. I mean, and it was just classless. It was cheesy. But I can't say a surprise, because always do this. Always the UNC have a way they responding to, like, I don't know why is the infatuation with the US. So once the US doing something, the same thing happened with the Delcy Rodriguez issue for Venezuela. The same thing happened with the COVID response initially, what Trump was saying and thing. And it seemed to be that whenever the US get involved, whatever they say, only grabbing onto that to see how you could be in alignment with them. Only visa expiring or something. Somebody could check on that for me, please, to see if the opposition having visa issues or anything like that. We have better ways to get this done. Come on. And as we're talking voice of balance, let me bad talk the PNM one time. We were getting everything else one after, right? But let me bad talk the PNM one time. Rest in peace and condolences to the family of Frankie Khan. But I see now, issues start bubbling up over how quickly the family of Frankie can get the exemption to come and go to their father's funeral or the relative funeral. Now, I'm saying this for a while on this same platform. If you have a very clear process so that everybody knows exactly what had to be done when they apply for exemption, as well as they have buckets of applications that are going in where this is an emergency. When somebody passes away, it's an emergency. They have all the right to give Frankie Khan family the exemption they need to come and go because the man passed away. It's no more that's final, you know what I mean? It's no replacement for that. So if the funerals have a certain quota, and let me say it's somebody immediate, your mother or your father or something like that, why you mustn't get exemption? That is exactly what they should do, and it's the right thing if you ask me, once they're staying within the guidelines. The reason people vex with it, and you can't really vex with the people who talking about it, is because other people was in the same situation over the last year, but again, they don't have a clear process. So somebody who would have passed away, death is always an emergency and is always sudden. No matter how much you can really plan for somebody passing away. How many times you get an opportunity? Very few. So if that happens and you end up stuck abroad or you live abroad or whatever the reason is, you're not in the country, why it can have an expedited line that says, hey, this is the situation. I'm coming for the funeral. I'm coming on X date. The funeral is the following day. It's only at 10 people in funerals, but I am one of the 10. I leave in the following day. Look, my COVID test here saying negative. Look, my thing here saying I get vaccinated. My temperature check, whatever all you need for me to come in the country, I could provide those things within a few days and get down and do it. Why he mustn't do that? Why they mustn't do that for his family? But again, nobody, I was saying this for a long time, and I don't know if it resonating or if it's changing or anything, but we're bound to be in this situation where people feeling like it's favoritism. And then only trying to dance now to say that, well, I see the family come out and say they were not getting any special treatment, and it must look like special treatment. This is the issue right here. And I said here before, you see politicians and people who choose to give up their private practice and give up their life to go and serve as a politician in the country, I see them needs as more important than me. I put that out there for myself. So if they have to come and go, their family had to come and go. I think I was talking about this in the context of Dr. Rowley's daughter. Remember when they had that issue? I find she should come when she needs to come. Of course, do the right thing, right? Get the test, get the vaccine, whatever you need to come in the country. But why she shouldn't be in the same line as everybody else to come and go when it comes to the exemptions and that kind of thing? Same thing with Frankie Khan family. The man is the Minister of Energy. How his family could be in the same line as everybody who come in for this, that, and the third? I don't agree with that. You might disagree with that, but I don't agree with it at all. But again, until we have a very clear process, we will always end up in situations like this where a ton of articles being written and they had to defend themselves now to say no special treatment was there getting the exemption. Coming from the Express, they say 5 days after the death of Frankie Khan, Cara Khan and family members arrived in Trinidad having been granted exemptions. Laura Sulal Khan, wife of former Energy Minister Khan, yesterday denied that her family received any special treatments and getting an exemption for Cara to come. Why waste of time telling people that? You must see why people would be upset about this, especially where you have people who have very specific situations that they could refer to over the last year, where they would have lost loved ones and the person exemption never come through in time for the funeral, and blanket statements being made like you have to apply and people have to wait and they have thousands of people. Yeah, right, okay. That again, the kind of talking down attitude and thing. But again, I really eager to see as I talk about that talking down of Frankie Khan family now, who I'm glad they get to come for the funeral, yes. But the talking down thing, I'm eager to hear when the doc comes to his next press conference, if he gonna go back to statements like it's only take one fool. Because I know he was no fool. People who want to say that could say that, right? But I know he was no fool, and I know he wasn't reckless in the way that some people trying to paint him. So, and he still get COVID. And he's still that 35 people who had to go on quarantine. I don't know how much people who would have gotten COVID based on would have contracted it from me being in contact with you. I hope it's none. But I hope you just realize that it's not just about somebody being a fool and somebody being irresponsible and all those things. And it's not just him, we have a tendency to say that. Like, every time the numbers go up, it's some fool doing, nah. It's just people living their lives and all of us trying to figure out this thing as we go along. And let we all accept that, number one, it's very, very difficult. And the longer it goes on, is the longer is the more difficult it gets for us to do the right thing at all times. Let's acknowledge that. And let us also acknowledge that none of us over the last year and something have done the right thing all the time. Maybe we should just acknowledge that and stop being so black and white on social media too and on the political platforms. You know what I mean? All right, I think I'm done with politics. Kiss bread. It's the most of the random topic. It's the most of the random topics again today because it was just a random kind of week. So kiss bread, the thing starts off with kiss, right? Where somebody was showing on Instagram a whole tile in a butter bread. I have never seen anything so strange in my life. I talk about a whole tile, a 1 by 1 foot, the tile bigger than the bread. Now, as from a company standpoint, you can't really take chances with these kind of things. That's why I understand kiss. And for me as an individual, I could sit down home and do the armchair talking thing like I like to do and say that this is a lie. I want to know how you pick up a bread, right? You always go in the grocery and think. You tell me if you could pick up a bread with a whole 2 foot by 2 foot tile inside of a butter bread. Like you ain't notice nothing, the weight or nothing. I just find that story was looking real strange. I was so confused. And people talking about it in the comments and things, people who doubting it, people saying there's why things has happened and companies is getting with murder because people is doubt it and things. But I've bought bread before and I've bought tiles before. If a tile was in a bread, I think, you know what happened to me at time? The grocery closed down, so I could call the name. It had a grocery in St. James at time named, I think it was Back to Basics, You see, if you know St. James, right? Well, Woolings. We had Fatima with Woolings and them. Woolings and them have a grocery on St. James Main Road. It's right opposite Woolings. Or if you know Linda's in St. James, it's right next to Linda's if you're heading west. I don't know which direction is east and west now. If you're heading east, it's right after Linda's. If you're heading west on the main road, it's just before Linda's. I don't know what they have there now. I think it's a Chinese restaurant. I never went to the place. But they had a grocery named Back to Basics. Now, rumor have it that the woman win the lotto and she done with grocery life. Me and she wrong, right? That is back in the day when a million was still a million. She had we used to walk up the road and go in the grocery all the time. She had a nice little grocery there. It was bigger than most of the other little small shop and thing we had around the area at the time. And when I was real small, it had a grocery named Safeway. And if you're from St. James and you're good old, you're going to remember Safeway. But Safeway had closed down and things. So we used to have, most of the times when I had to go and buy something, I walking up to Back to Basics. I talking about the 90, 95 kind of time, if so late. You know what I mean? And I remember going there to buy bread. It's the same kind of setup like it had now, where it have a little rack and you slice bread and them kind of thing. And boy, I pick up a bread and when I walk into the cashier, I feel like if the bread spin wrong in my hand. So I say, but what kind of exorcist thing? When I watch good, is a mouse run out the bag of bread, the regular sliced bread. I just feel the thing like it spin. When I look good, a space straight through, like the mouse was borrowing straight through the bread bun. I see that, and after that, I ain't buying no bread in that grocery again. I was frightened from that point because groceries are mice, sorry to say. But in a grocery environment with all that food and things are mice. But inside the bag of bread is a problem. So I find it hard to understand how somebody could pick up a bread. Out of all the bread it had, you pick up one with that tile, you put that in your cart so fast, you didn't realize that a whole time. And the thing about it is the person story was sung kind of shaky because it sung like if, number one, all right, you miss it in the grocery, you come home now, you take out that to cut that. So you hold the bread to cut it. And you feel that tile. The person said they had eat piece of the bread already, but then they noticed the tile. So they was kind of busy now. So they come back and they end up recording it and post it the next day as nah. Something songing fishy with that story. But lo and behold, within hours, you're seeing a bunch of kiss bread like trucks dumping kiss bread. Now, I had to give Kiss the benefit of the doubt. And I can't bad talk Kiss because we're looking for contracts from people like Kiss and them. So I can't say nothing bad about Kiss. But I would think that they do the responsible thing and they didn't just dump that bread like that, right? I hope they dispose of that in a proper way where people can, people who might be scavengers or people going and pick it up is one thing. And they should be protected as well by making sure that that bread is destroyed. If as they said, there's a possibility that contaminants. I think they say there's no chance of glass being in the bread. Let me find the article and read what the people really say. Kiss confirms bread recall but denies glass contamination. This is from Trinidad Newsday, a story by... I'm not seeing who the story by. But it says, Kiss Baking Company has recalled a batch of bread which may have been contaminated, but the company has ruled out social media reports that the contaminant was glass. Social media was abuzz with photos of the products allegedly being dumped, with commentary that the glass on a machine which makes the dough broke and splinters were mixed into the dough. In a release on Sunday, Kiss's general manager Renee Gans confirmed that Saturday the company recalled several bread products which were produced on Friday last week. I wonder if you mean Friday like the day before or Friday before. I hope it's the day before, because that's something like you could control more of that than if it's a whole week that product out there, right? But all right. The Gans said that this was because of the possibility that a piece of plastic may have contaminated a loaf of bread. So maybe it was a plastic tile. He says it's highly unlikely that this occurred, but out of an abundance of caution, remove all the bread that may have been affected by the piece of plastic from Trinidad. Now, my little bit of experience in this world tells me that if you had to do a product recall based on a batch that was baked out there, they could do it. So a lot of people start asking, what about the people who buy the bread already and those types of things? I suppose Kiss will have to respond to that, because they have batch numbers on any product that being manufactured. They have a batch number and all that just for this specific reason. So if something happened, they could go and pull the specific batch. So when you see some remain on the shelf, it would not have been part of that batch that was contaminated, right? So we could rule that out. But unless you go back for the batch and you know that batch had 10,000 loaves of bread and you pull all 10,000, if you only pull 8, then all you know it's a 2,000 that out there that thing. But I suppose you want to put that in a newspaper article, and you probably want to deal that one by one as people raise it. But it also means that there are 2,000 people who eat bread, that there's a possibility that thing. What they could have also done, I would have thought, is make the batch number public. Because if I say any bread and then in number 45, just look on the bag, you'll see the serial number thing, number 45. Don't eat that. Throw it out. But I suspect that there's 2,000 lawsuits coming their way too, because let me talk about Trinidadians first. If I bring home bread, I eat in that bread. Bread is immediate consumption. When I bring home bread, I'm hungry already. So suppose I check the batch number and I don't eat half that bread. You're going to hear from somebody on my behalf. I look into you put me and my family at risk. They also have tricky daddians who, when they see 4 or 5 on that bread, they go and throw away half that bread. They go and remain with 2 slices. Even if they never eat none, and you go and hear from them too, and you're going to have to settle with them. So I suppose that might have been the responsible thing to do, or the best thing to do from the standpoint of everybody's safety. But if you do that, you have to make sure you have money to settle with how much ever people short on that batch, wherever that bread reach. So I suppose they take the decision, they will pull what they had to pull, which is really responsible. I had to commend them and salute them for that. They pull everything off the shelf. That is an expensive exercise. And I guess as they hear from people saying they have plastic in the bread, one by one, you deal with those cases as they come up. But the whole tile thing was looking a little suspect. And like I even start seeing people talking about now we had a boycott. Like when we will start, but not boycott, but when we will start back buying Kiss bread. Because how are we supposed to know the Kiss bread on the shelf safe? And now a lot of people seem to be loyal to Kiss bread, cake, or so all kind of things they make. Sweet bread now, fruit cake, Kiss fillers. People still looking like they're buying the thing. People like they ain't so worried. But where I stand is if the company do the responsible thing and pull the thing, I gonna buy the bread. I can't just stop buying Kiss bread. Kiss is one of the most responsible companies we have in the country. They've been around for a long time. They would risking their reputation on one batch of bread. They wouldn't do it. And to be side, I had a bad experience with this sort of boycott talk with people, with Kiss and specifically before. Because at one time, I guess it was the price of the bread. At that point, the price of food generally was rising real high all the time. Not that it's low now, but it was getting more expensive to make groceries by the month at that point. I can't remember what year it was, no boy. But let me tell you what year it was. It was BBM kind of year. Whatever year you had BBM, that is the time I'm talking about. That era. When was that? Like that 2005 coming down there to 2010 when you still had a BlackBerry. On BBM Messenger, people start to post up. Remember you used to do a status? People started to put status about we boycotting Kiss and we buying Kiss bread again and Kiss bread going up and the consumer had to stand up for themselves and have rights and we don't know how much power we have as a consumer and all that. Boy, I fall into that. I eat up that and I say, you know what? I'm boycotting Kiss. I ain't going to buy no more Kiss bread. They had to drop back the price. Mind you, I didn't know the price of Kiss bread and I didn't know where it raised to. I don't check the price or not when I go in the groceries. Either I check as either I had the money to pay for the things or not. I don't check. I have a bad habit of doing that. But I jump on the bandwagon and I say if we boycotting, we boycotting. We staying away from Kiss. They have to drop back their price and we're going to show our power as consumers. So I go on in the grocery now because me no big grocery man. And it's not to say I make groceries for the household and thing. But I go on in the grocery with the sole purpose of boycotting Kiss. So I go on in there to not buy no Kiss bread. And you know when you're going in grocery, you're going massy. The bread and thing is the first party is rich. So I go on there with venom in my soul to say I'm leaving all the Kiss on the shelf. And I pick up a bread named Oven Classics. I'll never forget it. I pick up my Oven Classics and I go on thing and I make my rest of groceries and thing. Whatever the price of bread was at that point, Oven Classics was about 3 times the price of the bread. But I start to feel away now, but I'm doing the right thing because I'm boycotting Kiss. I say, you know what? I'm standing up for my rights as a consumer, but now I vex it because now I spend a whole bunch of money more to buy bread. I vex with everybody on BBM. You know, when I reach home and I check the Oven Classic thing, the Oven Classic making right in Gaston Street, right in Kiss Compound in Chauvin, I was so mad with myself. Instead of boycotting Kiss, I went and spent triple the price on Kiss bread. So you see me, I go and buy, as a matter of fact, I go in with the express purpose of buying Kiss bread and Kiss cake and all these things. Because as I say, I feel a little nasal and I need to try and taste something. So maybe I'll buy about 6 goodie and just make sure I taste and then think over the next few days as my own personal COVID test. But salute to Kiss on all seriousness. Salute to them for doing the right thing and pulling the product and putting the statements out there. And we hope that all our companies locally act like that. And you know what I mean? Do the right thing by us, man. Protect us. We would have never known all they had plastic in the product. And to be honest, based on what was happening on social media, I don't know if we'd ever believe that person who said they find a whole 8x8 tile inside a butter bread. So we appreciate you all doing the right thing. But having said all that, it reminds me of a song. We don't play enough calypso on this podcast. No, I used to play real calypso back in the day, but I had to get back to that. So this reminds me of a song with that whole price thing with our Oven Classics, right? It's a song by the Roaring Lion. Tell me if you know it.
Say to jail them before it's too late. Jail all these black market reprobates. Murder, John Public and buy. Raising the price of foodstuffs too high. I say to jail them before it's too late. Jail all these black market reprobates. Murder, John Public and buy. Raising the price of foodstuff too high. Day after day there is a hue and cry. We can't buy food, the price is too high. Black market is rampant through rank and file. Bubble and profiteering is now the style. No use to lament, comment, no wail. From Caesar to no avail. Is everywhere to be seen. The law is being contravened, so the police should intervene and jail them before it's too late. Jail all the black market reprobates. Murder, John Public and buy. They're raising the price of foodstuff too high. I say to jail them before it's too late. Jail all the black market reprobates. Murder, John Public and buy. They're raising the price of foodstuff too high. Bush doctors are doing a raging trade. To charge for their bushes they are not afraid. 60 cents for a piece of shadow benny. $1 for a twig of timawi. 90 cents for the leaves of kuzemaho. The Dan bush is growing all in front your door. Is everywhere to be seen. The law is being contravened. Police should intervene and jail them before it's too late. Jail all the black market reprobate. Murder, John Public and buy. They're raising the price of foodstuffs too high. I say to jail them before it's too late. Jail all the black market reprobate. Murder, John Public and buy. They're raising the price of foodstuffs too high.
You know, the man says 60 cents for a bundle of shadow benny. What you just say now, boy, in these times? But yeah, it just reminded me of that song, so I had to play that. Sorry. In more news locally, and talking about news, we're going to talk about one of the newsmen again. Ian Alleyne seems to be a regular on this podcast now. No, he in every segment I talk about now. But he's officially off CNC3 and back on Synergy. Like, we ain't too long ago say he back, you know what I mean? He back on CNC3 and he have a new light, the new spotlight on him on one of the number one TV stations. But the man lasts a solid month. the man can like one fortnight pay. And the next fortnight is short pay and right back home, you know what I mean? But the thing about it that's surprising to me is CNC3 deal with this before with Ian Alleyne, and almost the same exact issue that rumored, plenty alleged in this story. Is alleged initially that is the same thing they sent him home for talking about some contract between government and something to do in South allegedly, and he went home and only hire him back. And who in this equation was surprised that he went and say something out of time? And I was talking about the way he handled or talk about Dr. Rowley getting COVID and wishing him a slow recovery and his lame retraction. And also some other story about some politics and some contracting. But he back off CNC3 again. And he back on the IAN, the Ian network, and coming through Synergy. So I don't know if it's congrats or what. I mean, he had plenty to say about it. Let me play a clip. Last time I played a clip from Ian Alleyne, it was way too long. So I'm going to keep my Ian Alleyne clips kind of short. But this is what he had to say about his return to Synergy.
This is Ian Alleyne, and I'm back on Synergy. As they say, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. I spent how many days I was on 27 days, yeah, 27 days.
27 days.
27 days. Great time.
I'm sure.
A lot to tell you. Great time.
Right.
But all I can say is mission accomplished.
No, again, I only remember, if you never listened to the episodes, go back and listen to the last couple episodes. I think it's episode 45, when I was trying to say, who is Ian Alleyne sending signals to? So when he comments CNC3, much larger audience, I would assume, than what you have on Facebook and YouTube and Synergy. And he's sending this thing about Cora versus Macreep and all that. That's what I was saying, you know, he's sending little signals and things. But the man said mission accomplished. It take him 27 days. It didn't matter if he get fired or if he get what. The man get through. He right back on Synergy. His show continuing on Facebook and the hunt is on. But he talking big, you know, that is a big talk champion. You know? So the way he talking, like if he didn't care about CNC3, he was glad to be back on Synergy. I'm back home and all this kind of thing. But I am hearing a little birdie tell me, allegedly, his leaving of CNC3 wasn't so smooth. Allegedly, he wasn't so happy to be leaving there. So I have a little clip of allegedly what was Ian Alleyne's last meeting at CNC3. Take this in.
I want to know I love you plenty, but I'm going. All right? I love you. I'm going. Take it off.
If you laugh at that, you're going to hell with me. So listen, congrats to Ian Alleyne. You're back on Synergy. You're back home, as you say. So congrats. Keep the fight on. The hunt is on. Criminals beware. Ian Alleyne is still on the prowl. You know what I mean? Number one crime fighter in Trinidad. Do your thing. In these hard times, once you have a job, you're in the right place in these times. All of us, everybody frightened. With this COVID thing, people losing their job from our side, and it's hard to look for a job during this time can't be easy. So salute, you're back on your work. And in the job hunt, I actually saw something in the Express last week, it was, that I wanted to talk about as well, where it is from the 14th of April, and it said, beware of false job recruitment promotions. And in this time where it's done hard to land a job and thing, it's really sad that people taking advantage of people in this time. So the article said, Heritage Petroleum Company Limited, the successor company to State Oil Company Petrotrin, says it has become aware of individuals and their organizations who are hosting false recruitment orientations and falsely promising employment at the company. Now, think about it like this. The people who would have gone home from Petrotrin, and then on the heels of that, while they're trying to catch themselves and find back jobs, so much people I know in the oil and gas sector who would have migrated to continue working in the sector, or who's struggling to find jobs and had to go in different industries to look for work. I remember a youth man I met one time in South working TT rideshare. And he said he was working Petrotron and thing, it fall through. He was on a little contract and things was going good for him. And as it started to look up, bam, Petrotron closed down and he lost his job. So he doing his rideshare to pay his bills, and a salute to that guy. You know what I mean? Do what he had to do. But in the midst of all that being so difficult, a man like him would have definitely looked to go and apply. If they see Heritage have a recruitment fair orientation, anybody would want to get back in. So it's so sad that people would take advantage of a situation like this to do this. And the reason this stood out to me is because I went through something like this before. And listen, I try all how to remember the name of this company so I could call the company for everybody. And I promise you that whenever I find out the name, because I'm going to pass back there and I'm going to get the name, because I don't want to call the wrong company name and put nobody into disrepute. But I remember applying for a job once, and it was the fastest I ever get a response to a job application. Them time the job market hard, you know. And I say, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get in and see what I could get done and get a little work. And plenty places I send in applications to, like a lot of people will be going through this now. You're not even getting a response, nothing positive. You can't get an interview. And you have the qualifications and things. You have qualifications and experience and nothing coming through for you. And I remember sending out resumes everywhere in my field, trying to get into marketing, but I ain't even getting a call. Only to send it to one place who is not like a company, they were a recruiter. So it's similar to what they're talking about here. And I suspect, because the article didn't call the name of any company here, but I feel it's the same people with no basis at all, because that is what they do. But I send my resume to them, my cover letter and whatnot. I see a marketing job. I say, right. Almost the next day, I get back a call for an interview. I say, good to go. So I'm looking for my Sunday best, my fandy dandy. I'm looking for something to come out nice and make a good impression. I practice an interview skill. So long I ain't interview nowhere and thing. I say, right, you know what I mean? I'm going and wherever it is, I'm going and get this job. Only to get an email from the company after I accept it saying that I had to pay $300 as a processing fee for the interview. Now, they send it in a kind of way that said, you know, they accept resumes free of charge and they keep us on the database for any jobs, and this fee will only be paid once for the year based on blah, 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 and something for an interview. I say, you know what? It's looking odd, because I've gone to interviews with companies and get jobs before, and I went to interviews with agencies and get placed at companies before. And I just find it odd that somebody would charge me for a job. Also, I have a little bit of insight into how the background of it works, because one of the companies I'm associated with is a recruitment company, and we will never charge a candidate, not for taking a resume from you, not for placing you in a job. If we place you in a job, we getting paid from the company we place you by. We billing the company. We're not gonna put you in a job for free. Let's say you go to the company straight. That's how we make our money. So I really find it was strange and thing, but I ain't say nothing. Paid the $300 and I went there. Now, the fella is on, if you know the Parkade in town, his office was on the northern side of the Parkade. I don't know if that is Queen Street. I know streets in town too good enough. But wherever is the street border in the north side of the Parkade, that is the street here on. So I park up in the Parkade and I suit up. I look in the part. I feel I could get any work. And I go on in by this fella. And something struck me as strange when I went there, because the office was real small. But I mean, it's recruiting, you know what I mean? You have an office in town, you're doing interviews, you could schedule that. So you need a big place. But something, maybe it's because I pay the money too. I done looking for things that's strange. So when I went in, it was small. And there's one guy alone in the place. I guess my expectation, based on the type of jobs he was advertising and the type of job I was looking for or had gotten the interview for, I expected that you see in a place with a receptionist, you know what I mean? A certain standard. But he was the only person there. And that struck me as a little bit odd. Now, when I go on in the place to do the interview, he called me and I sit down and I find let me put it this way, his posture was extremely casual. The man rocked back on his seat. He not dressed to match the people who we interviewing. He kind of well casual in the way he dressed, and I in a suit, so I feeling kind of awkward. I wondering if I overdressed for this interview or what. His office not exactly clean. He has some golf clubs and things resting in the corner like he was practicing his putting before I come in. But again, I'm looking for work, so I put all this aside. And then he started asking me questions that I find was real strange. Strange. So, he's usually getting normal interview questions like introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself. All those things are things I would prepare before I go in an interview. All of us, right? Some standard interview questions you should prepare for in advance. Like I always tell people, don't go in an interview, then try to figure out where's your weaknesses when they ask you that, or where's your strengths, or a little bit about yourself. Rehearse them things before. So I go in, I feeling like I prepped. I know what it takes to go in an interview. Anyhow, after those initial questions about standard, what we call standard interview questions, the man started to ask me questions about medical thing. And when I say medical stuff, like what a medical technician would do then, what I think a medical technician would do, like repairing equipment and how comfortable I am and thing. And I mean, at this point I answer it because I'm not sure if these is trick questions or if, what kind of interview is this? Sometimes in interviews, people is asking questions from left field. I remember my father telling me about an interview and he talking about executive level positions where in the middle of the interview, a man asked him, so do you like dogs? I don't know if it's to throw you off or just to get to know a little bit more about you, see how quick you could think on your feet. So I tried my best to answer these questions as best as I could. And after about the fourth or fifth question, like he started realizing I confused and I giving real vague answers because I don't know nothing about what he asking me about. Only to when I add it together, this man called me in for that marketing position that I had applied for, but like he mixed it up with a medical technician thing that he also advertised, like an x-ray something. And so I thinking, but what kind of professionalism is this? And instead of just coming out and say, boy, here what? Sorry about that. We scheduled the wrong interview. I was so embarrassed. I was asking the wrong questions. Let's restart this and go along the lines of this for the marketing position and whatnot. Because I trying to spin back key questions in a marketing way because like, if you want me to sell machinery, I go do that and the work I looking for. But this guy just kind of eased his way out of it and almost to make me feel like I was just testing here to see what so. And then he asked one or two what would be ridiculous questions for a marketing person. Let me put it like that. And the thing about it is, because I don't know nothing about the medical field he was asking about, I wouldn't know if they are good questions or not, but I suspect they were vague, basic questions anyway. But midway through the interview, I realized that man's business is them $300. He really just calling people in, anybody who apply, he calling in for interviews and basically collecting $300 at a time. Let me work out this matter. With the job market the way it was then, and is a joke compared to what it is now in terms of how hard it is now with getting a job. So if you get 10 applications a day where you're willing to sit down through 10 mock interviews or false interviews, that's $3,000 a day you could be collecting from people, $15,000 a week, 60 grand when the month come. It's a real travesty when you look at it, the way some people is dealing with people in the world. And I tell you from my own experience. So when I saw that article about that happening with Heritage, if you're looking for people in marketing and you're charging them $300 to do the interview, marketing according to the job is not the highest paid field I was ever in, but oil and gas and petrochemicals is one of the highest paid fields we have in Trinidad. How much are man charging people to take these kind of interviews? But if it's the same person, and I suspect it is, how much you're charging people to come in and do that? It's really a wicked act, because when you think of it, people who also work in these times done hard up already. You're going to take a piece of money from them people, boy, who looking for it and trying to get back on track with their careers or now. Spare a thought for the people who now joining the working world for the first time. They must be the most frustrated people that had. Take back your mind to when you was now joining the working world. And when you come out with your degree or your passes or whatever you had, and you start applying for jobs, how eager you were. A lot of times when we were doing that as youths, we just wanted somebody to say yes. We just want somebody to give you an opportunity. We feel like we could do the world in our job, but what you're really looking for at that age and stage in your career and in your life is validation. And the interviews feel like such a success. You're getting an interview, you're going with all the hope, and you know what I mean? Them days, long time, you putting on my father's shirt and tie, my shirt and tie big, my tie long down to my knee. But you're going in with a level of hope and ambition and pride that you have this interview. And that is what these men choose to do, people in this time. So, again, I will head up in tongue, And I hope he's still in the same location so I could find out the name of the business and hopefully the name of the person too, so that we could be aware of these things. But I'm glad that the article was published in the Express. And I'm glad that Heritage was able to come out and say that this is not it. And maybe even give people a little more info as to what is your process so they know what to expect. So that the job seeker in these hard times could know for sure when they're looking at something legitimate from Heritage, and they could apply and feel good about it and really have a chance rather than getting swindled out of a little bit of money for one person to benefit and become rich. All right, so on to some foreign news. We kept following that Derek Chauvin trial as I had promised, and it's some good news. He has been found guilty on all 3 charges: second degree, unintentional murder, third degree murder, and second degree manslaughter. Guilty on all charges. The jury didn't take a long time at all. Only see all the memes to with his face. That man looked more confused than anything. I don't know if he was confused that he get caught. I mean, he probably knew he was going to get guilty. His lawyers were a mess. They try everything that they could try. The last day of the trial, they come and say, they make a movement for a mistrial based on statements by Maxine Walters or statements that were out in the media about how people will react if he's found not guilty. Boy, that was so weak. And the judge was basically like, listen, we sequestered it. We didn't sequester the jury as he had been. Apparently his lawyers were asking for the jury to be sequestered from the beginning, which didn't happen. But the judge said, the law says we had to assume that they're not taking the media into consideration. And he's reiterated to them many times, so he had no reason to believe that they didn't. I do feel like if there's something that we had to change, I don't know if things like that in the law are easy to change, but to assume that you have a jury who is not influenced by what happened in the media is to be naive. I'm sure when they wrote that law, media wasn't what it was now. And even the idea of sequestering a jury, what are you going to do? Take away their phone and everything? Because now most of the news I get is on Twitter and Facebook and social media and stuff and in WhatsApp groups. What are you going to do? Stop me from doing everything so that you could satisfy your need for me not to be influenced by the media? People are going to be influenced by the media. We had to stop talking about that and basically tell people that, hey, you have to use only facts from the case and use your best judgment when it comes to a jury. But anyway, my guy is guilty and we're coming back for sentencing. So we had to watch now to see what he will get when the sentencing time come. The average time they say for it is 12 and a half years for each charge. I think 12 and a half years for each one of the murder charges and 4 years for the 4 years for the manslaughter charge in terms of maximum sentences. So he looked like he's gonna be in jail for a long time. And it's just one observation I want to make about this, right? Because the George Floyd thing lasted almost for a solid year in the media and at the top of everybody's mind. But you remember that they have so many cases like these. And I keep saying that because we will have to stop to an extent is why this case got the prominence that it had and probably got the result that it got. Largely because he was locked down and he was home. He had no choice, whether black or white or whatever race. He had no choice but to face it and to see it and address it. And it was such a jarring video when it came out with that kneeling on the man's neck or whatever. That was something else to watch, you know what I mean? Just the still shot of it was scary to watch, much less the video of it. And he had a lot of, remember Dave Chappelle did his thing. I think he did, the name of it was the exact time that the guy was kneeling on, Chauvin was kneeling on George Floyd's neck. And then he had a civil case where he got settlement. Like a lot happened, a lot went on for this to be a guilty verdict. And I do feel like if it's a step in the right direction for the states, but there's, again, this observation I want to make that when the reaction, as much as I am a man like peace too, I like nonviolence and I like peaceful resolution, I can't help but feel that a big part of this verdict had to do with the fact that they knew that there would be riots if they said not guilty. Like just like what Maxine Walters was saying in a roundabout way. The idea that this broke out immediately into protests. Some protests violent, most of it peaceful, but the violence was there. And whether you agree with it or not in terms of how people should react, it's a funny thing. This line between peaceful protesting and violent protesting, because when protests become violent in any way, let's talk about looting, for instance, where I have a store, people come out and protest, and then people break my store and loot and them kind of things. That is real unfortunate, because I might be black too. I might be for the issue that you're protesting against. I might be on your side, but all of a sudden now I have to deal with the losses on my store and that kind of thing. And nothing about that can be right, because if it's me facing it, I saw like lime. And I remember stories like that where George Umbala Joseph always talks about how his grocery get burned down as part of the thing with the coup. You in a community in Belmont trying to, you know what I mean? You uplifting the community, a member of the business community, and then you suffer a loss like that. It's a hurtful thing. That would be very hurtful for anybody to go through. But I will say that sometimes when people not listening to you, you have to force them to listen. And unfortunately, the US seems to be one of them places where you have to force people to pay attention. And like I say in our economics class recently, you see, the state is as capitalist as it gets. What causes the state to move in the US is demand and supply, it's market forces, it's the money. And you see, once the money get affected, people get very, very involved. So for instance, when an incident happened like what we spoke about last week, where a female police officer mistakenly pulled a gun and thought it was a taser and shoot somebody who in a traffic stop to death for what was minor infractions. Everything turned out to be minor infractions in the end. And she have a task to go through, because, I mean, at the end of the day, your poor decision making and hastiness cause somebody their life, cause somebody their father and their son, young boy. When the reaction to that is mostly a peaceful protest with pockets of violence or pockets of looting and vandalism and so on, the president of the States comes out and says he fully condemns anybody who goes and loots and this and that. So 90% of the protest is peaceful. But what he comes out and talk about is the 10% where they had wrongdoing. Let me put it like that. And then he goes on to talk about how unfortunate was the boy life, and he don't know, he can't say yet. The woman had to go through trial and all those things. But look at what gets the president to respond. A peaceful protest in that country. And Biden and them not talking about nothing. They're not coming out and say anything. So it's a sad reality in the States. And I think it have a lot to do with their history in terms of how they got through with things. A lot of their own history is violent revolution. You check it out yourself. So while the leaders and even people like me will come out and say, listen, you see protesting and breaking a man's shop and thing, we shouldn't do that because XYZ. I used to be one who always saying that. But this Derek Chauvin case making me look at this differently. Because you see that knowledge that my state could end up going in an uproar and businesses could get affected. And once businesses get affected, politicians get affected and statesmen get affected. So what they do is they protect the best interests of the state. And when they say best interest, they mean business interest. Them don't mean no human rights interest and taking out. The state is a different kind of place. So, I mean, Derek Chauvin is one of them examples, and at least the right thing was done as far as I'm concerned in the end. And there's some kind of justice being served. Let's wait and see what sentence it is. And also, lest we forget, your boy Chauvin was not alone. There have some other fellas. Alexander Keong, Thomas Lane, and a fellow named Tu Thao. I hope I pronounced that right or wrong. But those are the other three officers who were there with Chauvin. And you know, there were two guys behind him who were kind of holding him down too. And one other guy, he was looking like Asian persuasion. He was standing up kind of between the people who were filming and where Chauvin was on his neck. He looked scared. He looked worried about being there. And you know, when you look at the backstories to them, one officer was his first day on the job. He now come out and he taking instruction. I'm eager to see what happened when they go into trial, because when you look for what happened with their trial and when they will be on trial, you're hearing a lot of talk in the media about the three officers already planning their defense around blaming Chauvin. So they basically going and say, hey, we get told to do this and we were just doing our jobs, and he was the one who did it. I'm kind of eager to see how that goes too. And that's a case I'll definitely be following and talking about here. Because while the officer who did the wrong thing has already been convicted, and I don't believe, just putting this up front, I don't believe that those other guys should be charged with murder or anything like that. But you see, the idea of not stepping up and doing the right thing, it could have saved a man his life. It all well and good that we get justice, and if you kill somebody, you go to jail and stuff, but as police officers, we're there to protect and serve. And if you see one of your other guys doing something that is not protecting or serving, you should be able to have the mettle enough to stand up to him and say, hey, boss, here what's going on. You can't stay on the fella's neck. It's too long. He's subdued. Get up. And get him up if he needs to get up. And arrest him if he needs to arrest him. Intervene. It can't be that you find your role, like my Asian persuasion guy, where other people were trying to intervene, at least by saying, hey, all right, he down. You could get off his neck. Look, he begging for his mother. Your intervention is to keep them away from your guy. For as long as we encourage those things, we're going to be in this situation over and over. And it's a cycle. I didn't want to call all the names where we went through these things before, but we'll continue to go through these things if these three guys get off with a slap on the wrist when that time comes. But we'll take that in. And as I was talking about our female officer last week, I saw a strange thing come up in the media this week again in the States where, you all remember Amber Geiger? See if you can remember that name, Amber Geiger. If you don't remember, think about the name Botham Jean. A St. Lucian who was murdered in his apartment by a police officer who said that she thought she was in her apartment and she thought he was an intruder. She was convicted, she was found guilty, right? As well. But while looking up this case, this more recent case here, I came across the fact that she is appealing, looking to overturn the sentence. And boy, listen, I mean, if you get locked up and you're fighting for your freedom, apart from I can't fight that, but the story was so ridiculous. And the more you look into it, the more ridiculous it seems, because there's no body cam footage from the officers who responded to that and went to Botham Jean's apartment where she was there crying, saying she made a mistake and she thought it was her apartment, right? And when you look at it, just look for it on YouTube, body cam footage from Botham Jean's murder. And when you look at the footage, the officers walking into her apartment, the man had LED lights up on the wall, you know, your TV had little blue lights up on the wall. He have an ironing board. He's a real West Indian. The man had an ironing board up with the iron on it. How much of us is do that home by we? We as Caribbean people, we don't put on an ironing board just so, you know, every day you have to iron the ironing board up. The man's a real St. Lucian for real. And you telling me that you walk into the apartment and you really thought you was home? And not just thought you was home, but you thought you was home to the point where you killed somebody. Okay, you're officer in law. You open, let's assume you're in your own apartment. These things beat more these cases and these people. You open the door to your apartment, somebody in the apartment. You draw for your firearm. You point it at them. The person not firing back, you just open fire. Same thing, you know, with this case with Dante Wright. The man trying to escape, he jumped back in the vehicle and trying to drive off. Yes, he wrong for doing that. But you're pointing the gun at him or anything, that is not enough. You have to shoot. You know what I mean? And then you come in to say, no, oh God, I thought it was a taser. Oh God, I thought I was in the wrong apartment. And you come in to get your sentence overturned. Now, I really want to observe this, you know, because if you all remember how that case ended when she was convicted, the brother, Botham Jean's brother, a real true West Indian, that man went up there and talked. It was so sad listening to him talk about missing his brother and the way he feel and stuff. But that man, like just like a Caribbean person or West Indian or St. Lucian, that man say, boy, you see me? I believe in God and me believe in no vengeance. And I hope the best for you, Amber Geiger. I hope the best for you. I don't wish you no bad. My brother done dead. I don't wish you no bad. And he said, a matter of fact, I don't even want you to go to jail. I just want to give your life to God. It sounds so much like a West Indian. Huh? I just want to give your life to God. You just give your life to God, turn over your life to Christ. And he asked the magistrate or the judge or whatever they call him, he said, could I give her a hug? And that man hug up that. Listen, that level of forgiveness, I could only hope to reach that level of forgiveness because I might be too petty. I might really want to see her go to jail forever. But she got a hug and the man hold on to her and listen, she it's heartfelt tears. She break down like anybody would break down if you know you're going to spend your life in jail. The magistrate now, a black judge, a woman, she come and hug her up and give her, you know what I mean? It was so sad and so touching because as a man, I like resolution and forgiveness and them things too, you know what I mean? Everybody forgive everybody and thing and move on. But I wonder now how his brother and his sister, who the two main people in the trial, how both them Jean family feeling about this woman looking for appeal. And when she seeks this appeal, I'm going to be following that case very carefully to see if it's overturned. Because this could be 2017 or 18. This is not 10 years ago you're looking to overturn. This is 2 or 3 years out of what should be a long sentence, like what Chauvin hopefully will get, that you're looking for appeal. So just keep in mind that while we celebrate the idea of Derek Chauvin being convicted, we want to see what the sentence is, and then we want to observe when that time comes how much of the actual sentence he served. Because to be honest, I would not know nothing about this Amber Geiger thing if I wasn't researching anything about Dante Wright and find out this police officer who happened to be female with the taser and the gun mistake. That's how I come across the Amber Geiger thing. So I will follow that and let's see how it goes. And I will report on it because it's important for us to see these things through till the end and see if somebody ain't just pulling wool over the eye. You know what I mean? I'm sorry I don't, you know, sometimes it's morbid out the whole episode and I can't help it sometimes. I think I'm obsessed with funerals. I told you that before, right? So I had to take in Dmx Funeral. And it is... DMX came in, they sent out DMX the same way he lived, boy. They had something grand. I don't know if you all saw these things going on social media. I saw that on Saturdays when I started seeing it, where the whole Rough Riders and it reminded me of that Stop Drop video when I saw that the first time. Because that was the first time I really see them ATVs and four-wheelers and that kind of wheelie and thing. And them men show up for DMX, boy. They come out and I don't know where they get that monster truck. DMX couldn't go out in no hearse and thing. That's the way for the man to go. The man was on top of a monster truck. It looked like about 2 stories high when you see that driving through the streets in New York. That was a nice sight to see, boy. And the man got sent off, fitting for the king that he was. So, you know what I mean? Rest in peace to DMX. The whole funeral was touching. Like when you heard these speeches from Nas talking about him working in movies like Belly and thing. You know what I mean? It's just something to see them fellas' perspective on each other, boys. Nice to hear that. Like, I never really... and, it's so sad that funerals is sometimes the time you really hear how people feel about other people. We really had to figure out a way... Locally here, too, we had to figure out a way to give our legends their flowers and not wait until, man, it's eulogy time to say some of the things that we had to say to one another, But Nas was real good talking about the time on Belly and how much he learned from DMX and the acting and who he was. Of course, Swiss Beats, hearing him talk about DMX always a little hard because 2 of them is partners. You could see 2 of them was friends and co-workers, and DMX, Swiss stick with them for a long time too because up to this year, they were talking about doing an album together after the verses that he did with Snoop. They was talking about working on an album and releasing an album. So hopefully we will get some of that music coming out from Swiss Beats still. And Kanye West did his church choir. What is the quality thing, boy? Sunday service. He did his thing and, boy, he and all was really emotional about it. He would have been rapping. I mean, Nas and DMX and Jay-Z and them come up about the same time. But Kanye West would have been a little bit after them fellas. But still, you know what I mean? You could see how much it meant to him then. And, the whole thing was just real sad. And a celebration of life, yes. But, I mean, none of us... We don't know the minute nor the hour, but boy, just to hear DMX, sometimes it's still surreal to think about it. Yes, that man too young to be out of here. But I mean, it's too young really when you think about it. But, and his daughter too. Boy, I think DMX, they're saying, it's 15 children with 9 women. And one of his daughters came up and did a version of Slip and Fall and I Can't Get Up. And she say, I can't remember what she put in there, striving, something to stay up. It was nice. She recited the lyrics, and I mean, you could see she have it in her because that little girl didn't go up there with no paper or nothing. No, she went through 3 verses of the song, like line for line, and changed up the chorus to be, his was, of course, Slip and Falling, but she had used a more positive spin on it. It was real good, and the whole thing was really very touching. But one of the moments that stand out to me is, if you had ever, DMX used to be on a show called, I know he was on the Ileana Van Zandt thing where it's a marriage intervention thing, right? But it was another show he was on too, a reality show with what's the little short man name boy who was in the Spy That Shag meeting? I can't remember. Vern. You remember they had a reality show with Vern? And DMX was on that same show. And he used to be real back and forth with his wife at the time. I guess they were saying it's his wife at different times in the show, and then they were saying it's his ex-wife at different times in the same show. And it seemed as though they had a real on and off relationship. And that was the couple that ended up going on to the Ileana Van Zandt show. Like Fix My Marriage or something, so was the name of it, a celebrity intervention thing. Tashira Simmons was her name. And like I even saw her in Breakfast Club interviews and stuff talking about her relationship with DMX and how much she endured, because I think they had 4 children together. But he had little children in between and these types of things. You know what I mean? 15 by 9. You work out the maths, right? But I saw her, I can't say speech, right? I saw what she said in her eulogy or her tribute to him. And in the end, she acknowledged his current fiancée, which is, I think it's Desiree is her name. And she was saying that she's a woman of God and Desiree is a woman of God and that's why I love you and them kind of things. And I think to myself, you know what I mean? It takes so much for somebody to, I mean, we from the West Indies. We've been to funerals before where woman meet woman and children meet children and everybody really know how big the family is when the funeral comes. So I find it was nice of her, and the crowd response, or the what is called people in that thing, the congregation response was showing that, hey, everybody like that too, that only acknowledge that. And I mean, the man going to rest now, you could put all your water rest and thing. And it make me start wondering, like, why we had to wait till people pass away to just come together. It was clear that DMX wanted to bring all his baby mamas and all his children together. He always used to say, you know what I mean? Even when you watch that show, you used to hear him saying, like, oh, everybody can just get along, you know what I mean? And it make me wonder why you had to wait. So my thing is taken from DMX. We should put the DMX rule in our heart as we live. Just embrace the outside thing. You know what I mean? Don't why we fighting one another? Why we making this life so hard? Your wife have a little outside man. Love the man. If you know if she pass away now, you and the man will go hug up in the funeral and you go say he was a good man and you know what I mean? You love him too. You know what I mean? Let me embrace these things, man. Let me don't make life so complicated. DMX set the way for us to follow. Embrace the side thing. If you ever don't know, if your wife have a little man, you know, treat the man good, don't bad talk, the man don't want to fight. And the problem we have in Trinidad, you know, everybody now want to fight and kill yourself and stop killing yourself and stop killing people. Embrace the side man and let everybody live together. Let your children know the side man, and he might have some good little values that he could pass on to your children. And when your man have a little side woman, bring the side woman home. She could cook, you know what I mean? You might be able to cook this, but she could cook. Or you could make a potluck. What is it called, a potluck? Make a potluck and bring everybody together, man. Don't wait till a man dead now to see who come together at the funeral. Like I went to a funeral, so you know. I went to a man funeral that time. I ain't calling no name, man. But in the funeral, the same scenario like DMX. Exact same scenario. The woman who I know as his child mother all my life, all of a sudden, the next child mother now the child is a baby. The child was small. And the original child mother, who I know as with the big child, them, you know how much I fight? I see two of them fight, physical fight. 2 women fighting, and he had to separate 2 of them fighting in the road. Big fight in front of the church and everything. When the man funeral now come, I see all fight done and she hug up the girl and they introduced the 2 children, and it was such a nice moment, you know what I mean? And you know, within the mix there, All the time a woman pregnant anything, me realizes she's pregnant for two, so they had to embrace shit too and bring all insurance together one time. So moral of the story to DMX, don't wait for the man to dead, or like just unite. All right, and a lighter note before we get out of here. Apple trying to take all my money. I don't know who's still using Android and why. Like only to get over yourself and join the tribe. Because Android people have issues. Why Android people know all the Apple launches better than the people who use iPhones and who's use Macs and so on? How it is all you always have something to say when Apple come out with a new product. What is going on? The products I don't know when no new Android phone come out. I don't know when no new OS come out for Android. I don't know when Microsoft make new tablet or computer or nothing. I don't know when Google make nothing. I don't know when Dell come out with nothing. All you could use all you think peacefully. You don't have no worries. You don't have to spend no money on Apple products whatsoever. Why you always be so concerned about this? This is something that defeat me every time, because when Apple launch up anything, immediately the Facebook feed, the Instagram is memes, as this, as that, and people so stupid. Well, all right, let me be stupid, because Apple is going to take all my money with these new colorful computers. I want all the colors. I can't afford one, but I want all. The iPhone thing is starting to slow down. I used to try to buy an iPhone every other iPhone, but I realized that the brokenness is a problem. So maybe every third, maybe when iPhone 13 come out, I will upgrade, but I've taken plenty good care of my current iPhone. And I feel I'm going to keep it as long as I could possibly keep it. But boy, them computers looking sweet. Go and check them out for yourself. Don't listen to none of these Android people. Go and look at how beautiful these little desktops computers looking. And these new iPads, they go catch me here. But the thing I want to talk about, that little stray, as we was talking about uniting and all these things that come to mind. Apple launched a little product called a Apple Tag. And this is something they're talking about for a long time, because they have a company called Tile who make these things a long time ago, where it's just basically a tracking device. So when you put it in your bag or whatsoever, your valuable thing, you could always pull it up on your phone and find where that thing is, anywhere. And I saw Apple demo their own. Of course, Apple own is better than Tile and all these people who was doing it. Did I just say Tile and all? It's better than all these other people who were doing it. And one thing I like about it in our local context here, I'm not sure how good it will work here, because, all right, I really shouldn't be the one explaining no technology, but the way I understand it is that it's just a little circular thing, and you can attach it to anything that you want to keep track of, and it points you to the thing. So if let's say you lost your bag somewhere and it's not home, you will be alerted to where it is based on other people who had iOS devices close to it. So the person who close to it wouldn't really know that this is your bag and this here and what it is and so on. But they're using a signal from that iPhone to signal yours to say, hey, this is where your thing is. And when you get there, it's telling you exactly where it is. So even if you lost your bag in your house, let's say you tag it and you can't find your bag home, it's actually pointing you directly to where your bag is. So if you put it somewhere in your bedroom under your bed, it points in you like specifically to where it is. And I'm saying specifically because Apple already had something called Find My iPhone. But I find it so vague. It never really worked for me. A man thief my laptop at a time and I put on that Find My Mac thing. And all it said is offline. That is must be 10 years ago. It's still saying offline up to now. And the most you could do is make it play a noise when you get close to it. But how I get close to it? Somebody break my glass and gone with it. So and they went with my whole bag and my laptop, everything. So I kind of like the idea of these Apple tags, because now I could drop that in my bag, my work bag and stuff. And that not losing battery. Like how the phone would lose battery or the laptop would lose battery. So I could look for that wherever it is and hopefully get the police involved if somebody steal it. Or if I misplace it, I could find out where it is. It's a pretty decent device. Don't listen to none of these Android people. And the reason I find it's important in our local context is because of when you look at how much people disappearing in this country, or what's happened with taxis and who had to take PH and all these types of things. Like I saw some people come out with an app called Ride Verify down here, where you're taking a little more information from the taxi driver who you're going in the taxi with. I think it's the South Taxi Drivers Association who came up with it. And I might have highlighted here, but I'm not sure how far they are with it now. They were just making moves to make sure that women more safe when they're taking taxis. And they went all the way to the point where they have an app so that once you're going into a taxi, you could scan the thing and it's sharing with somebody automatically. Who is the driver? Where's the car number? Where you are? Where's your location? Where's the estimated time of arrival? I like them things. We let the technology help us because the police can do everything. They can be everywhere and it's a waste of time. All this other talk blaming the politicians and this and that for crime. Let me use the technology as much as we could to help us with this. And that little Apple tag, despite what the Android people will say, is one of the best ways to help with this. So if you have somebody who is young, you remember a young girl traveling in Sawan, and let me use technology like that, give them one of them things, let them keep it with you, so that if anything was to happen to you, we at least could find your location. We know where you are. We know when you're going. Of course, we could monitor where it is happening and even give the police more information to be able to respond faster. The only thing I find them missing with that, and this is not for Apple, this is in our local context. I wish the little Apple tag thing had a little panic button. So you could keep that in your little clutch purse, something, and if you squeeze it too tight, have a little panic button, letting somebody know that's something wrong. But as with Apple, this is just the first version, and I'm sure as they continue to bring more versions of this, they will do better, because this thing is particularly targeted to find like stuff, like things, not really people. But I would love for them to do one that more geared towards people, because I saw them do something where your phone, for the same thing we were talking about in the States with police stops and so on, your phone could automatically go into a mode where you get pulled over by the police to record video and audio and everything to let and alert somebody as to the fact that police pull you over for some reason. I hope they continue to develop technology like that, hopefully with something as small as the tag, because in Trinidad here, they see you with that phone, they take your phone, all them kind of things. But if you have one of them little tag down in your pocket, that's something that you could miss, or down in your shoe. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is that we could use to safeguard ourselves, I think it would be a real useful security feature. So, I'm saying all that to say, stop using these Android devices. You know what I mean? Switch. Come over from the dark side and come into the light. All right, that's about it for me for this week, By the time you're listening to this episode is coming out on the 27th of April. That is the birthday of Calypso Rose, the legend. So in celebration of her birthday, I'm picking out my favorite Calypso Rose to leave all you with.
Which foreigners don't know. I passed through depression and starvation to be where I am in my profession. So Tobago, I am thankful to you. I wouldn't be ungrateful. I say thanks. I thank my mother, my school teacher, my neighbor, my brother and my sister. So you see, Tobago, I thank thee. Recognized anywhere you go. I am sure you'll be more than glad to know that the mother of Tobago is Trinidad. I thank Trinidad for its protection through 1970 revolution. I say thanks. I thank Trinidad for my education, making me Tobago most recognized woman. So you see, Trinidad, I thank thee.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
safely through independence. And I cannot forget the mighty sparrow. He established my name through calypso.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
I thank all the musicians who play my calypso on brass and pan. I say thanks, thanks, thanks. And to the nation, to honesty, for making me the road march queen. So you see, I thank thee.
All right, so that's it for me. That's Calypso Rose. That is what you win Calypso Monarch with in 1978. I thank thee and Her Majesty, just so you know. But that's it for me. So next week.